Sail away, sail away, sail away. We often long and dream for the possibility to sail away, to go away, to leave situations that are boring, tiring, painful, disgusting. Get away from it all. Sail away, sail away. And today we have a feast day that actually knuckles down and gets our hand, our whole being dirty, difficult, not nice. Facing reality of broken humanity. And I would invite you to think of what's the most toxic environment you see today around the world. And maybe also the most toxic situation near you. It might be even in our own heart. We are so bitter, so frustrated and discouraged. And today is really a very, very powerful thematic themes and readings that help us in this situation. Yesterday evening I was in Tiberias to help somebody visit some friends who were here, and the interesting thing was we went out on the walkway afterwards, the promenade, and noticed how deep down the sea has gone. But there was a guy holding a snake in his hand, and there were a couple of people gathered around him, a local Arab Israeli, and he had this big snake wrapping around his body and going up his arm and sticking out its tongue, a python snake. It's not the usual comfort circumstance that you imagine, you know. And I saw another snake event earlier this year. We went on a cherry picking outing with all the employees. And that was a brilliant occasion. That was just absolutely wonderful for everybody. It was, and for many other people that were observing, to see all these Muslims and Jews and Druze and Christians, everybody together having a marvelous time, playful, enjoying a workers' outing at the cherry picking. But there was one of the games that was there, you know, one of those, what do you call those things, the games that you play together with different people, to like icebreaker games and fun games, just to mix everybody up. And so one of the things was there was obviously a time limit on getting things done in little groups, and then there was something to be retrieved from a glass box, and there was a snake inside the box. And it was fascinating to watch, especially girls, because they're pretty squeamish in front of those kind of realities, and putting their hand in to grab the thing in the box near where the snake was and take it out. And today we have snakes mentioned twice in the readings. There's the source story in the book of Numbers, and then Jesus refers to it in his conversation with Nicodemus. And so the people were in a state of rebellion against God. It was a toxic environment, a lot of grumbling and nastiness. And there's a plague of snakes that hit them, that bite them, and they begin to die. So in the course of their cries and Moses pleading, God says to Moses, put the snake on top of a stick and lift it up. And when they look at it, they will be healed. Undoing the toxicity of a snake and a snake bite. It's urgent if somebody gets a snake bite to take the poison out as fast as possible. To counter the poison. To detoxify. And to detox our environments today, there are a lot of environments that are very nasty, very ugly, and they need detox. And today's feast is a very special feast. 51 years ago today, I got my cassock, the outer robe that a religious wears, a monk wears. I had just finished high school at the beginning of summer, and this was on the 14th of September, and I was receiving my cassock, my soutane, the black robe, and the sash, and the little white collar. And then the next day, the brothers who had joined 2 years earlier would profess their vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. And for me, it was just entering that life. It was a day of beautiful grace for me. I always remember that moment, and even some of the prayers that were spoken in the ceremony. Very serious, very solemn, enveloping one's whole life in God's service. And the occasion of today is the feast of the exaltation of the cross. And just a number of thoughts crossed my mind. I didn't look for them, they just came there. I just want to share with you about detoxing negative situations. How do we detox negative situations? I have a whole list here, more or less. Just observing the whole process of Jesus' crucifixion. And then putting this together with exaltation of the cross. And that's the feast day, you know. The historical background there is because of the dedication of the Holy Sepulchre in the year 335. On the 13th of September, and then the exaltation of the cross. The cross had been found in the process of that whole work. So the first principle would be, if we want to detox negative situations, we shouldn't run from them. We shouldn't sail away, sail away, sail away. We should face them. And that's one of the first things Jesus says to his disciples once they start getting serious with him and realizing that this is their life. Christ is my life. My life is Christ. Is, if you want to be my disciple, take up your cross and follow me. So carry your cross. Don't run from it. Carry it every day. Don't run from it. Because if you run from it, well, I won't say anymore. It's carry the cross. And then when you realize that the cross you're carrying should be the burden of others, and that you're forced to carry it, find the deepest world of love to supply you the strength you need for this journey and this heavy cross. So before kind of working on the cross itself, find the deepest source of love. Maybe it's an alcoholic child or an alcoholic parent. Okay, you can fly away to wherever, the Solomon Islands or someplace, and just get away from it. Or you can say, Lord, give me the love that I need in order to be here, because that's what he did. And that was Gethsemane. That was the entering into that contact with that love that would Allow him to endlessly carry that cross. Endlessly. Infinite love. And that's what we need in order to carry the cross. We need infinite love to carry the cross. And we can't do it with our own strength. We need to be deeply, deeply bonded with the fountain of love who has the whole world in his hands and all the problems of the world. Find the deepest source of love and strength to carry this cross. And looking at that second letter today, the letter of the second reading, the letter to the Philippians, and it starts contemplating God's will, God's desire, God's decision, God's commitment to lower himself so humbly for love of us. And that's one of the greatest motors of love ever tapped and drawn from to build our commitment. Then another one would be to welcome others who help us to carry the cross. To welcome Simon or Cyrene. To welcome Veronica. There are many people who have compassion for situations. There are many people praying. There are many people reaching out to help. We can detox the situations around us, people. And it starts with the change of our own heart. No matter how toxic it is. Think right now of the most toxic situation in which you're living. It could be a family situation. It could be a family feud. It could be over inheritance. It could be over broken relationship. Moments of rebellion. It could be over lots of different things. I'm also struck at the exaltation of the cross, which is really the lifting up of Jesus on that horrible instrument of torture. How he's listening to the request of others around him and trying to help them even while he is carrying this very heavy burden. Remember me when you enter your kingdom. And he's able to give a serene answer to this man who was crucified alongside him. It's a very, very helpful therapy for us in moments of suffering to notice the suffering of others. I can say this particularly of my own mother, God rest her soul. After her cancer was diagnosed, she was always very expressive of her compassion for so many other people that had difficulties and tragedies. And actually there was a neighbor of ours died. He was my age, a year older than me. And so she would have known this family just 2 or 3 farms away from us. And I think he had cancer. And she bore that. I brought a bit of news from Germany where I was working at the time when I went to visit her of a tragedy I just learned about on the way to the airport in Dusseldorf. That's where I was. And a family I knew. A very, very sad family situation happened. And I could see how my mother participated in that. And that also helps us to carry the cross, because when we realize the suffering of others, there's a solidarity in the human being that awakens to share the burden of the other. And those who are suffering have an experience of suffering and pain and distress. And that experience and suffering also allows them deeper compassion for others around us who suffer. And your words of consolation can relieve a victim of so much darkness and despair. Today you will be with me in paradise. I think this is long enough for today. I will maybe make some more comments now on the Instagram and also on the homily in an hour and a half here at the Mass on Sunday morning. And I'll especially be praying for you and the crosses that you have to carry, the toxic situations in which you live. And look around and go to the deepest well of love to have the strength. And let Jesus' cross be exalted in your life also. That it no longer oppresses you, but becomes your platform to really geometrically increase in love and impact in the world today, which has so many toxic situations everywhere, and needs people that enter into the mystery of the exaltation of the cross to detox the poison that's invading so many people, so that our world can experience the great redemption that's brought and wrought in this gift. He loved the world so much, he gave his only Son, so that we would have life forever. God bless you people. See you later, alligators. I guess we need to do this little selfie moment here. See you later, alligators. Have a blessed Sunday.